This is our AA Best Bell Bonds Dallas Cowboys training camp coverage live from Oxnard. I'm Joe Reinagel. Jason Minix is here and a very special guest as well.
Yeah, Todd Archer from ESPN joining us here on the 10 Sports after an eventful practice today that got cut short. We were on the air when everything went down. Your tweets, man, can you kind of run through them?
We're calling these things fights. I don't think they were fights, but one might have been a fight. They threw out Johnny Cornelius, the rookie tackles. I think he threw a punch. So I think that's Schottenheimer's way of, okay, you throw a punch, you're out of a game, you're out of practice. And then there were a couple other pushing, shoving matches that just had him saying, all right, what do you want? You guys want to bleep and fight? Let's fight. And he had him run some sprints and he ended it. And I wanted to look it up and see how early they ended it. They ran 46 plays by my count in practice. On Monday, it was 60, Sunday was 65, and Saturday was 50. I got the numbers messed up. Saturday was 60, Sunday 65, and Monday was 56. So, he was pretty upset. If coaches love their practice time, and he's like, all right, you're going to do this? Let's go. Let's run.
We had Miles Sanders on right after practice, and he said he can't remember the last time a head coach made him run sprints.
CeeDee Lamb said the same thing to us. Dante Fowler said the same thing. Neither guy remembered the last time that happened. And in the 20 whatever years has been me covering the Cowboys, I'm trying to remember something. And I think I remember Parcells when they would mess up with if they were down one end of the field, everybody had to go run down the far end and run back. So that was Parcells. So maybe Schotty's taking a little Parcells playbook.
Maybe. Todd, when you think about the fights and ending practice early and knowing how precious those plays are, the other day he was talking about they trying to stay on schedule. They didn't get to 4 plays, and it's like 4, all right. But it is important. So for him to be that angry, but every day we've seen some of these skirmishes, and I'm starting to wonder. I mean, he talks about wanting to be a disciplined football team, but we're not seeing it. Is this his first major crisis as the head coach that he's got to get these guys under control to at least get through a practice?
I wouldn't call it a crisis, but I think he laid it down today because he put the warning on him after the first day. He's like, look, you throw a punch, you're out of the game. Yeah, and you're going to be out of practice. So this is the first guy that's been thrown out of practice. The other stuff, the pushing and the shoving, talk to one guy, he's like, look, this happens all the time. It's not like we want to fight a guy. It just kind of happens. You kind of get sick of everybody. And hey, but I think they do need to find that fine line of here's where you go and you don't cross it. And but you're right, though. We've seen the Cowboys with penalties, right? They've been a highly penalized team, regardless of the coach. From Parcells to Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy, they've been highly penalized, and that's hurt them. And, you do have to find some discipline. Let's see tomorrow how practice turns out. I will guarantee you there might be a skirmish, but he's not in practice early. He can't do it 2 days in a row.
Todd, it's interesting because we have this debate all the time. Is it the coach or do the players bear some of the responsibility? They're grown men, and they're playing a sport, and they're getting paid pretty well. A lot of people want to lay this all on the head coach's shoulders. What is your opinion of that? How much do the players hold some of the responsibility?
Yeah, I mentioned his name a second ago. Parcells would say, I don't coach penalties. It's on the players, right? And sometimes that can be a nice little cop-out for the coach. But, yeah, the players are the ones playing the game. They can only, you got to hold them accountable. And if you continue to make the same mistake, well, then the coach has to do something, right? There was a couple of years ago, I forget it might have been Fowler actually, who would either line up offsides or jump offsides. It's like, dude, the ball's right in front of you. Like you can see, why are you doing this? And nothing really seemed to happen. It seemed as became an accepted part of their day. And I never really quite understood that. But to me, the players have to be the ones that kind of police this themselves because that penalty in particular. Dude, line up the right way.
Right.
A false start. What are you doing? Now, some of the other stuff, a hold, hey, you're getting beat, a pass interference, you're grabbing the guy because you get those ones. I think they call them combative penalties. You kind of understand those. But the mental ones, it's like, get the guy out and put in a new guy.
Todd Archer from ESPN joining us here on the Blitz on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. Overall, Schotty seems to have really changed the culture around here, the energy level. I mean, it's one thing to hear him talk about it. You're around it every day up there at the Star. But since we've been here, we got in on Saturday. You can feel the difference. What are some of the biggest notices you've seen from a guy that got promoted from within?
I mean, we hear the music the entire practice, right? And with Mike McCarthy, it only played really in pregame stretch, and then they turned it off, or pre-practice stretch, and then they turned it off. And now here it's running the entire time, which I'm always like, if a coach is yelling at a guy to do, like, can you hear him? Can he coach him up the right way? But that's something. And he talked about this last week, I think, before you guys got here. It's like it's not 1985 anymore, where hey, it's football practice, you can't have fun. It's like we're still going to work, but we're going to have fun. And I think that's what he's kind of done here and energized the players and even the coaches that have remained, and even the front office and the scouts, that it is fresh, it is different. Now, some of the stuff that he's saying, if we're being honest, it's the same stuff Jason Garrett said. It's just packaged differently. So with the music, with some of the shenanigans that they do early on in practice, but players seem to respond to it. The proof is going to be when they lose 2 games in a row in October. How's it going to play then?
It's interesting that you say that, because my first impression of Brian Schottenheimer, especially coming out here, is a very folksy guy. He's got sayings and he says things and he's very family oriented. And I just wondered again, because I go back to, this is pro football. It's not high school or college. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out when the adversity, and it always does, happens.
Right. Think about who he grew up under his dad, right? Marty coached forever, 200 wins in the NFL. And you can still see some of the NFL film stuff with him of, he was a family first guy as he coached as well, and Brian would tell us there's not a stadium that would go in the league where someone would pull him aside and tell him a story about his dad. And that hits home with him. And I think he wants to make that kind of impact, on his current players. He has a poster behind his desk at the Star. It says, a great coach can impact lives. Like, that's what he wants to do. He does want to impact these guys' lives. And the best way for him to impact lives is win a lot of games, because eventually that's what you're going to be defined as.
Now let's talk some football, some good position battles that are going on. We had Miles Sanders after practice today. Obviously, that is a legit open competition. Hard to guess who's in the leader right now. I mean, Williams and Sanders both have a lot to prove, and then you got the rookie in Blue.
And Blue took some time with the first team today. I believe that was the first time I noticed it. So that was interesting. And I pulled up one of the scouts after practice and I go, look, tell me if I'm wrong here. Like, your running backs look pretty good. And he's like, yeah. And I go, and they're better. And I didn't finish. He goes, much better than last year. So, to me, it's noticeable. Now we'll see, right? I mean, it's Cowboys versus Cowboys, and we'll see how they go along. But I think they're happy with the 3 guys that they got. I don't think you'll hear running back by committee as much, but I think they'll use all 3 guys.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, especially who's starting against Philadelphia.
The fantasy guys out there wanting to know who we're going to.
Exactly.
I can't give you a guy right now. If I had to guess, Miles Sanders leads them in rushing, but I couldn't tell you if he's going to get 80 more carries than Javonte Williams. I don't know, but I think they'll be better at running back than many think.
Yeah, for that to happen, they've got to be better at offensive line, and that's where the injury bug has really bitten. How much better can this offensive line actually be?
Well, let's say Tyler Guyton comes back, if not week 1, week 2, week 3, somewhere around there. You have 3 first-round picks. You better be good. You have a new offensive line coach. You have an offensive coordinator who was a line coach. They've put their emphasis on that line. We might see Tyler Smith sign an extension while we're out here, maybe sometime before the season starts. So that's where they've put their emphasis. And you're right, they have to be better up front. And I was watching Tyler Booker today, and there was a little quick pass out wide to Williams. He was a good 15 yards downfield throwing blocks. Like, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember seeing that a bunch, especially not of a rookie who's sometimes swimming in what they're doing. But
that's Larry Allen territory.
Right. Yeah, we'll go there. I got the end of Larry, so I didn't see that Larry. I saw the end of Larry. It was too big. But you look at the division, Giants, good defensive line, Washington, pretty good defensive line, and obviously Philadelphia. Those guys, I mean, it's boring to say, but the offensive line is going to be the key to their season, protecting Dak and running the ball.
Yeah, no question about it. Let me ask you about Trayvon Diggs. I get the feeling with what's happened here with Jerry docking him the $500,000 that he's got a lot to prove this year, or he might not be here next year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I found it kind of funny that he was surprised that they took his money when they sent him letters throughout the offseason to say you will be docked money if you don't show up to this stuff. So for it to be and for people and fans to think, well, why did they do that? They should know he's working. Da da da. Well, Dak has it in his contract. CD has it. Osa, all these guys, the big contracts, they're all in there. They'll be in Micah's contract. So if you didn't take Trayvon Diggs' money, why would any of these guys show up in the offseason program in the future? So Jerry makes a good point about, he doesn't need to say it the way he says it sometimes, but he makes a good point about if you're paying a guy $19.7 million a year, you should work out with your teammates and certainly rehab with your guys. You can still do your own thing. A lot of guys still do that, but he could have been there for 84% of the offseason program to maintain that. But if he doesn't play well this year, I think you'll see the Cowboys move on. They have the ability to get out of that contract, and we know right now that they're talking to Deron Bland about a contract extension. So you can almost substitute that money for Deron Bland in some ways if he doesn't play well. But if he does play well and looks like the guy that was a Pro Bowler, then the Cowboys got something.
And again, he's going to show up, it sounds like, with a chip on his shoulder when he does get healthy.
But you want that chip on the shoulder on the other team, towards the other team, not on the one you play for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but again, it's just bizarre, and it's the way the Cowboys tend to do business. You brought up Micah's deal. Yesterday, Stephen was on with us, and he didn't want to talk about it. And I was thinking, okay, does this mean we're getting closer? Because typically things get quiet before they get done. But then, we find out later he had that other interview over there on the Fan, and things got sideways talking about Micah. So I don't know where we stand. What are you hearing on the latest?
There's really nothing going on. There's been no talks for the longest of times. We'll see. My read is this. When Jerry told us at the owners' meetings that Micah called him, flew back from Abu Dhabi, and they met, and they had an agreement on the guarantee, on the length, on what else is the total money, all that stuff. In Jerry's mind, I think when Micah walked out of his office, he thought the deal was going to get done right then. And the fact that it didn't get done has Jerry kind of upset. So now it's a
pissing match.
Yeah, well, you said it. I didn't know if I could.
You can.
I was going to say blinking contest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, he's going to make $22 million, I think, this year. I mean, he's not going to not play football. That doesn't serve him well. I understand Micah's side of this thing. It's good that he's here. But at some point, both sides kind of, and I'm not saying Micah necessarily, but both sides just have to say, all right, start fresh. Let's go get the thing done, because it should be something that can be done relatively quickly.
Well, how do you read this then? If Jerry thought they had a deal, is Micah asking for more now than that? Are you hearing anything like that?
I can't tell you. I don't know, because I don't know if a formal offer has been made or in quite a long time. But at the time that they were talking, I think 40 might have been the working number, and now it's 41. I don't think going to 41.5 or 42 is that much of an issue. So he'll still be the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history whenever it gets done. It's just a matter of both sides putting ego aside and getting it done. I mean, sometimes the one thing that I hate is when people say, well, the Cowboys wait and they drag this thing on and blah, blah, blah. To me, not really. There's an element of that, I'm sure. But CeeDee Lamb was never going to sign last year until Justin Jefferson signed. Now, it probably didn't need to take the lag time that it did from Jefferson to CD, but he was never going to sign early. Dak was never going to take a deal that was less than what Joe Burrow got for a number of reasons, not related to Dak, if I can be honest. And so it didn't cost them money. It cost them what it cost them. And now everybody's saying, well, they're waiting again on Micah. Well, his side can make a phone call too.
It's true.
Yeah, that's true.
And again, the Cowboys typically do this.
And they all sign. Eventually, they all sign.
And eventually they all sign. And one of the things that Stephen did say is, at some point the player's tolerance level, which is like, all right, at some point there's got to be a negotiation. And how long can Micah, the way I interpreted that was, how long can Micah tolerate being out here and not practicing and playing football. And at some point, whatever concession that Jerry wants him to make or Steven wants him to make, they're going to meet in the middle. And that's what it is. It's a negotiation.
Yeah, I mean, look, CD's told us like he was miserable last summer not being here at camp, and it impacted his play early in the season. At least Mike is here, and he's in the meetings, and he's running and lifting, and I'm sorry, he's got a tight back. No, he's keeping himself in shape and doing all that. So that's a little bit different than CD's situation, but you know, the idea is to have him ready for the Eagles on week 1. Does not being out here for 6 or 7 practices, 2 padded practices so far matter? Maybe a little, but infinitesimal. So let's just say it, right? It's 2 hours before they play the Eagles. The Cowboys will announce an agreement with Micah, just like they did with Dak last year.
Yeah, no doubt. Todd, I've got to ask you, because we love covering the Dallas Cowboys for obvious reasons. You get to do it every day. I mean, how much you got to be on call all the time.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, with the drama and everything's going on, you got to be having a blast.
It's fun to a degree. It beats working, first of all, right? It's fun to a degree, but then you have so much stuff that gets out there that you just like, well, I know that's not true. You know what I mean? And you're like, all right, do you shoot it down? Do you not shoot it down? You just let it go. And because there's just so many more outlets and media sites and all this kind of stuff where the loudest voice in the room sometimes gets the most attention when you just know it's not right. And, like Steven said on the interview with the fan, he goes, well, 90% of what you just said isn't accurate. So, some of it is that. But, yeah, this is here's what I wish. And you don't root for the team to win. You play it down the middle and all that. I just want to experience what it's like when they make a real playoff run, NFC title game or a Super Bowl. Because all I know is what people told me in the 90s. I don't, they've not really sniffed it here since I've been covering the team.
It's incredible. Todd Archer from ESPN, and you talk about just 24/7. Player day off yesterday. You went to the golf course.
No, I didn't.
She was working.
I don't know where you got that.
Yeah, but your phone was always on. How many times were you checking your phone?
I don't know. I didn't golf yesterday. No, there
was somebody else over there in the media room talking about it. Work.
Exactly. I was grinding on that tape. Honest to God, I never turned my phone off. Even like, it might be on vibrate, but I never turned the thing off, which is probably bad in some respects because grab a life a little bit. But that's just the nature of the gig.
Oh, really? I saw you at a concert once, and we were you're checking your phone 3 times in a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
why I
the
was surprised he didn't play Metallica when I was coming on.
Well, I mean, a guy back at the studio, that's coming up next.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a hell of a show.
That was a good
Did you
show.
go see him in Houston?
I did not. Nope.
It was good too. Metallica's awesome.
Appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks, fellas.
Thank you very much. The great Todd Archer, ESPN. Love it. Our Cowboys coverage continues here from Oxnard, California. Brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds. Also, Southern Recipe Pork Rinds, Jim Beam, and AARP.